Can we trust the Bible? I mean, what is the Bible? I suppose we ought to start there if we're going to start talking about the Bible. It's a collection of 66 books written by about 41 different authors, written over a time frame of about 1,000 years. And it contains a lot of different styles of writing. Like you'd expect, a Bible means literally library. So in this library, we have poetry, historical narrative, legal documents, vision writings, wisdom, letters to individuals, letters to communities, a whole range of different writings within the Bible. Most of the arguments that Christians have about the Bible are because they disagree over what the style of writing is in a book or part of a book. For example, in the book of Genesis, it covers a huge period from prehistory right the way through to the story of Joseph, the one with the Technicolor Dreamcoat. And it contains in that one book many different styles of writing. If you take just, for example, Genesis chapter 1, one that people perhaps are most familiar with, the story of creation. There are some Christians who read that chapter as a literal historical account. They treat it as history. But the mainstream church treats it more as poetry, which, by the way, is why the mainstream church has never really had a problem with the theory of evolution. It helps to know, I think, what the Bible is and what it isn't. Perhaps easy to start off with what it's not. It is not a textbook on how to live life. That's not what the Bible is. What the Bible is a collection of works covering a period of over 1,000 years by all those different authors, all sharing in various different literary styles the experience of their relationship or encounter with God, or of other people's encounters with God. It's not meant to be read as a textbook. It's not meant to be taken apart verse by verse to look for hidden meanings or rules to live by. It's not meant that way at all. It's a collection of works that help us to understand the nature and purposes of God and his call on us. It helps us, if you like, to know what God is like. It helps to reveal what God is like. And well, we might say that, but how do we know the Bible hasn't been changed over the centuries? How can we know that what we have is close to the original? Didn't people pick and choose what they wanted to include in the Bible? What evidence is there that the Bible we have today is what was originally written down? Well, to explore this, I think it helps to see the Bible in the context of other ancient literature that's regarded as reliable. So Herodotus was a Greek historian that lived in the 5th century BC, and he's widely referred to as the father of history. The earliest copy we've got of his work is AD 900. That's actually 1,300 years after it was originally written. And we have 8 copies. Another ancient historian was Thucydides, who was again around about the 5th century BC. Thucydides was an Athenian historian and a political philosopher and a general. And the earliest copy again of his works that we have is around about 900 AD. So again, 1,300 years, and again we have 8 copies. The next historian on our list is Livy, who lived at the turn of the millennium. That's BC to AD, not the last millennium. And in his Roman history, he narrates a complete history of the city from its foundation to the death of Augustus. And again, the earliest copy we have is about AD 900. So 950 years after it was written, we have 20 copies. The next document on our list, Caesar's Gallic War, an account from Julius Caesar of the Gallic Wars during the 1st century BC. The earliest copy we've got, about 900 AD, 950 years after it was first written. We have 9 to 10 copies, but again, no one would dispute that this is a good, accurate record of what we have back to the original. And then we have the New Testament, written in around about AD 50 to 100. The earliest copy we have, or part of it, was from AD 130. We have full manuscripts from AD 350, only 30 to 100 to 310 years after it was written. And we have 5,000 plus copies in Greek, over 10,000 in Latin, and 9,300 other languages. And because of some clever scientific stuff with textual analysis, we can actually trace back like a family tree of copying errors. You can see how copies with small variations have emerged, and you can trace them back. So we can be sure that we have a good record of what was first written by the original writers of the New Testament. The New Testament stands head and shoulders above every other historical document like this in terms of our confidence that what we're reading is what actually was recording, not changed at all. But what about inconsistencies between books in the Bible, the differences between the four gospel accounts? Well, a couple of points may help us to understand those differences. If you've got a group of witnesses to a crime and they each record a statement, they are never identical. In fact, when I talked to a police friend of mine about this, he said if he gets identical statements from witnesses, he knows there's been collusion involved. Everyone sees or remembers things differently. These are different witness accounts of people that were there, or people that were recording from people that were there. The other reason there can be differences between the Gospels is because they were written to different groups of people. So there were different things within the narrative that the authors wanted to emphasize for those people that were reading it. Obviously, this short talk can't possibly answer all the questions people have about the Bible. This is a very broad overview, and I probably haven't addressed the questions that you've got. But I hope it helps to illustrate that the Bible can be trusted as an accurate record of what was written thousands of years ago by people who were recording their encounters with or experience of God. And as I've already said, it's a collection of works that helps us to understand the nature and purposes of God. It helps us to know what God is like. So if that's what the Bible is for, then what does it show us that God is like? Well, that's a talk for tomorrow. I hope you can join us.